are a Belgian Member of Parliament currently.
Right.
And you are very vocal about Iran's freedom.
We wanted to be human being and to be treated like human being. That's why we were on the streets to take back our country, because we knew that this Islamic culture is not our Persian culture. And that's why I end up in prison. And in prison of Ayatollahs, I cannot explain how deep is your sorrow. We should never forget the political prisoners which are waiting right now. It was an obligation to leave my country, because I could have chosen between go away, stay alive and be the voice of those people, or stay there in the prison and no one knows that you are dead. And at that moment, I didn't know that we are with millions, that we are leaving our country with the promise, we love you, and we come back. Okay, you can imagine that there were no mainstream media to cover. But don't worry, if there are now four people on the street with Palestinian flag, they are there. Because you wanted to show it. The pain of the people in Gaza is your pain, and it's my pain, but not the pain of the Iranian people. So don't talk about human rights. Just talk about your ideology, your perspective against Israel and Jewish people. Just talk about how you are going to make anti-Semitism great again in these European countries, because you hate Israel. And your hatred, why you don't hate Ayatollahs? The people don't get it. Why you cannot keep your religion for your private, the Muslims, because the showing off with your religion is a duty. You should be proud of your religion and you should live it in the society. That's what they are doing also in the Western countries. Very basic question is, in the ideology behind this burqa for a free woman, where do you see freedom? But she has chosen for it. Never a woman choose for it if she's not grown up with the idea that if you don't do it, you are a whore. That's the point. We are never free in the Islam as a woman. I don't ask you to have pity for Iranian people or to defend their human rights. I just ask you only one thing: to defend your own future and the future of your own child here in the Western country.
Hi, welcome, and thanks for being here, and thanks for listening to or watching the show. Today's conversation is with Darya Safai, who's a Belgian Member of Parliament who was born in Iran and has a very strong Iranian identity. And we discussed very far-reaching topics from the history of Iran, the 1979 revolution, all the way to the lead-up of the Islamic Republic, which is seeing its final days today, or not, because everything is in motion. We also talked about political Islam, its relation to Islam as a religion. We talked about identity, values, and what unites Iran and Persian people with Western societies and Western values. It was an extremely intense and deep conversation, which is absolutely worth listening to. As always, if you like the show, please subscribe and like on YouTube, on Spotify, and on our LinkedIn channel. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Welcome. Welcome, Darya. It's a pleasure to have you here, especially in these times of turbulence, of unbelievable changes, tensions, things happening in Iran, in the world, that you found the time to sit down with me. I'm truly grateful for that. And there are so many questions that I want to ask you. But let's start at the very beginning. So you are a Belgian Member of Parliament currently.
Right.
And you are very vocal about Iran's freedom. And if we dial a little bit back, how did you land here from your beautiful country?
Yeah, it was like also searching freedom for my country. When I was young, like 25 years old, I was the student of the last year dentistry. And being at that moment, seeing that your country is occupied by ayatollahs that we even culturally didn't know, we decided to take back our country as the first generation after the revolution of 79. And at that point, we were a lot on the streets, and we chanted, "Give our country back." And of course, my husband and myself, we were really active in the politic world against the ayatollahs, which was really dangerous. And at that point, we were the loudest against the ayatollahs, which was really dangerous for them for the
We're
first
talking
time. In 1999.
99, okay.
1999, exactly. And after 1 week that we were on the streets, they cracked down, like they always do. They cracked down, they arrested the people, they others, and at that moment there was no cell phone to take every moment. But I remember the glory of the people who came together. It was like so dangerous saying it loud, but we say for the first time, down with the dictator. And I remember those glorious days, which were ended after 7 days of protest in the street, because they couldn't bear us. They couldn't accept that we have something else. We need something else for country.
So you were in Tehran. You were born there?
I was born there,
You were
yeah.
born there. How was life? So when you started at the point of protesting, but what was it that you so much were protesting against? How did it manifest in your everyday life?
It was like living there was living in hypocrite life. Like at home, we could have no headscarf. We could be whatever we wanted because they didn't know. Even they came to our home to search what we do. If we have video cassettes, at that moment there were no satellites, but video cassette.
So, of not allowed content or illegal
not
content?
allowed content. Every time they were just making themselves busy with every little private things of us. And as a woman, you were nothing. You saw it every day. We are human beings as a woman, but they treated us like second gender. Second gender should always obey the male of the home. Is it the father, or after, is it your husband? And legally, you didn't have anything as a woman. Even you didn't have the right to go study if the male of the family they didn't want. But our culture, Persian culture, was not that. Our culture gives importance to a woman, to going studying, to going working at work. So this contradictory with your culture as Persians and Islamic obligations of Sharia law of the regime was just every day working against each other. And we were fed up of being second gender. We wanted to be human being and to be treated like human being. That's why we were on the streets to take back our country, because we knew that this Islamic culture is not our Persian culture. And that's why I end up in prison. And in prison of ayatollahs, I cannot explain how deep is your sorrow, because you know no one hears you. No one can help you. And at that point, that when you are really disappointed of, can I ever again see the blue sky, then you are so helpless. And I remember those moments of my, there was a little cell of 2 meter on 2 meter, painful. And we didn't have any connection with outside. The only thing that I hoped and I wanted was that the world outside don't forget me. That was the only thing. And that's why I think we should never forget the political prisoners, which are waiting right now. And they are like 300,000 in just last days, political prisoner in our prison.
How long did they hold you at a time?
It was a miracle that they hold me only 24 days. in the prison of intelligence service, not in another. It was a very, very awful and terrible prison because there were 4 men of intelligence service which every day came to ask you whatever you did, whatever you wanted, and like being rebellion like me, it was not easy. And they had like, I was so young, they had like good cop, bad cop, just playing mental games. It was a torturing. And sometimes they said to you, yes, if you will be, you will regret that things. I mean, for someone who is so young, you cannot understand the level of the danger. But I had a chance to be freed on a very expensive bail only and only because they searched my husband and they couldn't get him. And they tried to use me or abuse me. They thought maybe she can bring us to him.
He was the primary target.
Yes. At that moment, they searched him. They had me, but they couldn't find him. So they thought maybe if we are going to make her free for a short time, they will come in contact. So we will take him as well. Right. That's the only reason that I was freed and I could manage to flee the country.
And why was he a primary target?
He was a leader of those young students, and he had a leadership of the people who we were such a long time together building those positions, because it's not easy. And forming an opposition inside Iran, it's not easy because they don't let it form, and they had us always under control. I mean, they controlled us. They not having under control. How should I say? They managed to investigate our lives, to listen our telephones, to put a machine for listening to us, whatever we say at home. So they tried to just get every details of our activism. And that's why they found him very dangerous, because what he was managing, what we all together was managing between the young students, was dangerous for them.
And if we think back again to those times, how popular was the Islamic Republic, as it's officially called, versus the rest of the society? So was it a real imposition? Was it actually popular to a certain degree? And were you really the minority, or you were, and I say it in air quotes, just the ones who dared to speak up, but there was a lot of support behind you?
A lot of support behind us. I can guarantee you the regime of Iran was never popular. Never. The reason that the Islamic Republic had succeeded to make this transition was they were not the people of Iran or their support. The extreme left communists, together with the Islamists, they took the power. They took the power against their common enemy, which was the king. And the people didn't say anything. But the people didn't accept it, never accepted it. But that's what I'm saying also in the Western countries. I say be very careful about the coalition of left and extreme left and the Islamists in your own Western countries, because that's how the Islamists managed to keep the power with the help of the coalition partner extreme left. And then once they have the power, it's too late. You can do whatever you want to have your country back. It's bloody, because in the Islamic culture and Sharia law, they can kill everyone who says no to Allah. That's what happened. The revolution of 79 if we say we want our country back, it means that we are fighting against Allah. It was a minority. So that's why there are people in Western countries who ask me, but Darya, please, there were a lot of people on the streets. Of course. How many? How many thousands? We are a country of 95 million. Of course you can find like 100,000 on the street, and it is a massive mass. But is it the people? No. And I can say how after the revolution, just our parents, I mean, the generation of our parents, not my parents, but the generation of our parents were really sad and they regretted that they didn't say anything. That's why I am inviting the people to say everything and never be inactive in silence. Because once the Islamist has the power, the first one they eliminate, there are those communists because they are godless, and then begins with other people. Islamists will never let you live happy. So that's the point.
Let's come back to that point where there are two directions. Let me start with the first. One is allegedly political left, and we're not talking the extreme left, but political left says it's about tolerance, it's about understanding, it's about human rights, it's about rights of women, it's about freedom of speech, all those very, very noble and so to say enlightenment and so to say Western values. Now, how does that come together with Islamism, which is, and again, we're making very clear distinctions between Islam as a religion and Islamism as a political movement, and that's something we will come back to how you see that. But it's complete opposite. So how do these two groups or ideologies rather come together in such overlap?
First of all, I want to make something very obvious. I don't know where is the border between Islam and Islamism. Sorry to say, it's not always obvious. It's not that we can make, even if we want to, but what is Islam and what is political Islam? It's very difficult because the people who are real Muslims, they name themselves real Muslims, they believe that Islam has a law for everyday life. It's not just the belief, it's how you should live. So this is political Islam. Where is the border between Islam and political Islam is not yet obvious, not for me, not for no one.
Maybe just one idea there, and again, I'm just more thinking out loud. One is how you live personally, and where is the point when you want to impose that on the rest of society?
As a Muslim, you should impose it on the rest as a good Muslim. Allah asks you to do whatever you can to bring it to the society, to live your life, not only at home, but also out of home. That's how the people don't get it. Why you cannot keep your religion for your private, the Muslims. Because the showing off with your religion is a duty. You should be proud of your religion and you should live it in the society. That's what they are doing also in the Western countries. So this has a revolution in Islam, a renaissance in Islam. Maybe it comes. Maybe thanks to Iranian, we will have it also one day. Like we had enlightenment in Christianity, maybe we have ever enlightenment in Islam as well. Who knows? If the people accept that Iranian can also be named as Muslims, because they tell us, the real Muslims say, you are not Muslims, you are not real Muslims, whatever. It's very complicated. But there was a question about that we were talking about something else, and then came Islam and Islamism.
Yeah, with the political left and Islamism. How do these seemingly complete opposites come together?
Exactly. That's a very good point, interesting point, because what the very left say as human right is sometimes against human rights. How you can manage to defend, for example, I give you an example. They say a woman should be free to feel good, even though if she has a burqa, whatever she wears, if she's just free to choose it. The very, very basic question is, in the ideology behind this burqa for a free woman, where do you see freedom? Where do you find freedom? If she were really free, should she cover herself against men, against the eyes of the men? And whenever she accepts to live in that sort of tissue prison, where is the freedom in her prison? But they say, no, yes, but she has chosen for it. Never a woman choose for it if she's not grown up with the idea that if you don't do it, you are a whore. And if you will do it, you are a respectful woman. Never. A woman is born, and at the age of 9, she feels, oh, I should cover myself. You cover yourself like a human being. You have your cover, I have my cover. We should cover ourselves, but not with those extreme things of headscarf. Why should I cover my hair? Because I am not free from Allah to be a human being which is free without bringing a man on the thoughts of, oh, what should I have to do with this woman which is so not covered. That's the point. We are never free in the Islam as a woman.
So how does it come together? Why have they, and I say they as these two ideologies, have become bedfellows?
The lefties and extreme left, they hate Western culture. They hate themselves. And they find an ally in extreme Muslims, Islamism, to be against this kind of imperialism of the Western country. I don't know why they think always they have done the worst things in the history, which sometimes is. But if you should always give yourself the guilt of, I am bad, I am racist, I can be fascist, then you can have allies which say also, you are bad, you are fascist, you are racist. They kind of like that. They find the fight against the Western country of Islamists, against Israel of Islamists, a very good fight. They feel like, wow, this is a noble fight. But on the contrary, the fight of Iranian people against this fascism of Islamism, that's dangerous. We should not support this. Let's just put it apart.
Which is unbelievable. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now in such a contrast, because when the war in Gaza was raging, every week you would see protests against Israel, and every week you would see unbelievable mobilization and Hollywood stars and European capitals and all over. Now, when actually, by this point, even more people have been massacred in Iran by the regime and imprisoned, and an unbelievable things are happening. At the time of recording, yesterday was I think the Grammy Awards or something. Not a single star spoke up for Iran, and to say the brave people of Iran, who despite this unbelievable terror that they are being subjected to, they need our support. At the minimum, our moral support, and at the minimum of raising awareness.
Right.
So it's an unbelievable contrast when you say you speak up for this and you claim that you are a human rights activist, you claim that you are someone who speaks for freedom. Here is your chance. Here are the people who are really fighting for their freedom.
They think that our fight of Persians, Iranians, it's dangerous for them. Why? Because their narrative collapses. It collapses. Their narrative is our fight, even though we are Westerners, it's against imperialism of America, of Israel, of the Western countries. Our fight is thanks to Hamas, which we can fight for Gaza against Israel. Who other can fight against Israel? If we lose Hamas, if we lose Iranian regime, Ayatollahs, who supports financially Hamas to fight against Israel and imperialism of America, we won't have any other hero. That's why I don't say that there were no sufferers in Gaza. There were. But the Gazan and the Palestinian, they are the victims of Hamas. They mentioned it as the victims of Israel every day, because they wanted Hamas to be strong to fight against Israel and Western countries. They managed somehow to do it. But now, if we say we want to make our country a very good friend of Western countries, we want to make Iran to be an ally of the Western countries. We want to have a democracy in heart of Middle East. We want to have a secularism in our beautiful country.
Actual human rights.
actual human rights. We want to sell you guys our petrol, our oil, and our gas, not to China. We want to be your friend. Oh, this is dangerous. What are they talking about? We don't want them as the allies of Western countries. We want them to fight against the Western countries. This is contradictory. This is just like they don't get it, how hard they hate themselves, even though they are born in Europe. And the connection and the love of Iranian people with Western countries and with the whole world, with the neighbor countries of Iran, is not something that you can destroy like this. We will be good allies with Israel, with Arab countries, with Western countries, with the whole world, because we know that one country needs the neighbor. If you want to really end all this war in Palestine, in Syria, in Afghanistan, every victim that you have as a migrant or a refugee here, if you want to stop it, make Iran great again, and then you will see there will be no war that those people should come to your country in Europe searching for a future, because we had always preferred to stay there if there were no wars, and every war in the region was because of Ayatollahs.
So we'll come back to that, but a little bit going back to your story, so to say. And again, even before the continuation of your story, I'd like to hear a little bit about the king, so about Pahlavi and his father.
Yes.
Because critics would say, well, it was not jolly good and amazing even before the 1979 revolution, but there was actually, a royal rule, but it was a very harsh rule and a dictatorship even. So how did this whole thing come together?
You know what it hurts me the most? Not only the media didn't show our pain of Iranian, but also they released the articles about how cruel was the father of this Shah. I mean, is this relevant? Is this relevant to talk about 50 years ago? First of all, we will talk about 50 years ago, but the truth, not the lies that, again, lefties write in the media. Where did the Western people find the history where it's written by the lefts? It's unfortunately in the media, again. So you have people who make the history about the country, but they give it something else to other people, only their own vision. The real vision is, yes, Shah was a dictator. But which country at that moment in the Middle East was a democracy? Democracy didn't exist then, didn't exist now. Only Israel has a democracy, which they don't find it as a legitimate democracy, which is a legitimate democracy still. So which country was democracy at that point that you you ask the king of Persia should have been a democrat? Okay, then they say, no, okay, yes, but he was the people. In the dictatorial countries, still, they the people. It's not a good thing. Of course not. But what does the son of the Shah has to make with his father? And still, I want to make something clear in the history. They say he was a It's not right. It is not right. If he was the revolution of 79 didn't have success. Never happened. Because he said, I don't want to people that those Islamists and the lefties had the chance to make a coalition. Because he said, I don't want a bloodshed. I don't want bloodshed. He said it, and he has done it. Look at right now, we are making a revolution, but we are 100,000 people in 2 nights. This is people, massacre people, not what one here or one there to be. This is not. Still, it's unacceptable. As a Democrat, myself, My opinion, I'm against killing people for their ideology or their idea. I am against that. Okay. But we are 50 years ago in that concept, in that region. You should see what is happening there. And if you are still talking about how the king was a murderer, be ashamed because we have a murderer right now. And you are not talking about Ayatollah and you are going 50 years ago. Please close that door. It's already closed.
Yeah.
The son of the Shah, I know him personally. He is a Democrat. He is the only
Reza
chance.
Pahlavi.
Yes. Let's also talk about who Reza Pahlavi is. He is the only chance to make Iran free, democrat and secular. He is a Democrat. He is a very clever man. And the thing that he has, and no one else has it, is that he has the legitimacy of 90 million Iranians.
Say more about that, because I heard or read pushback and saying, well, he's very popular in the diaspora, so the Iranians outside Iran, but back home, his popularity is not so.
It's so hard. And I am not saying as someone who is fun because of that I'm saying it. I'm telling you the history. I am born and grown up in Iran. And lots of people say to me, but dear, you are 25 years abroad. I say still, I know so good my people because I am grown up between them. And my father and my mother, they were not elites. They were people. Listen to me. I wrote articles 15 years ago here in Belgium, op-eds. I wrote that could see that this reformist will go, it's just a waste of time. There is no reform in the Iranian Ayatollah system. I brought Reza Pahlavi 3 years ago, to Parliament, Belgian Parliament. And I said to my colleague, you have to make with a great leader and the future of Iran. No one believed me. 3 years after, millions of Iranians on the streets, in the streets of Iran, calling his name with the risk of their life because it is risky. They killed him. The only reason that they killed them was because they dared to say his name. This is the alternative. Why they say he is popular between the diaspora and not Iran itself, while millions of people inside Iran said his name? Because they don't want our revolution to succeed. But our revolution will succeed because we have everything. We have the smartness, cleverness of the Iranian people inside and outside Iran. We are all together, stronger than ever, and we have an alternative. The world has an excuse. Yes, Ayatollahs are not good, but better to have bad thing that you know than having something that you don't know.
Stability.
Stability. Is this stability? Ayatollahs is like Khamenei is like an octopus. He has 8 powerful military powers around Iran, and they say this is stability in God's name. What do you see in the stability of those monsters that you cannot see in a democrat man and a democratic people who are asking for your attention in the world? I said on a program on TV, I said, I don't get you guys. Whatever it comes, it's better than that. Whatever. And still, we don't have whatever as an alternative. We have democracy. We introduce you secularism, democracy, friendship with the Western country. Is that not interesting for you? Is that not interesting enough to pay a little bit attention for Iranian?
And we'll come back to that. We can talk about the inflation or hyperinflation, the unbelievable difficulties of cost of life, cost of living, and everything else. But let's just finish off that thread as to how you landed here. So you left Iran after being essentially persecuted by the regime. You graduated from dentistry by then?
I was a dentist in Iran. Yes,
So you
I
graduated.
My
You
study.
finished your studies.
Yeah.
And then you decided that, well, it's time to leave. So
I decided I
tell us
cannot
what
live
happened
in my
then.
country.
You cannot live there anymore.
It's so sad. I can explain more about that. I never decided to leave my country. It was an obligation to leave my country because I could have chosen between go away, still alive, stay alive, and be the voice of those people, or stay there in the prison and no one knows that you are dead. That was my choice. When I put all my life in one little suitcase and I went out of the borders of Iran, I looked at my country and I said, one day, we will take you back. And at that moment, I didn't know that we are with millions, that we are leaving our country with the promise we love you and we come back. That's how we left the country. And still, it's like you leave your family, your mother, your father. How could they do it with us? And now we are an army of millions of people abroad which seek attention for the beloved people, young, beautiful souls that they are just and not only letting them bleed blood, but also they just because they didn't want to give the last bullet because it costs. That's how it's going on. We want to take back our country, but it's just so bloody. And every time when I see those beautiful faces of children of 15, 13, 17, 18, 25, I have two children. In every face I see my children. They were our children. How could they kill so many people just to postpone some days or some weeks of their lives in Iran? We will take back our country. It's just so hard in us. And now that we have lost a big part of our family, and when we look at Iran, Iran has a face for us. Iran is not just a map. Iran is a person. Iran is a woman. We say Iran Khanum. Iran needs us. We say motherland. We don't say fatherland. Iran is our mother. We will take care for her because she had given everything to us, but now her heart is broken. Our heart is broken, but it don't stop here.
You came to Belgium. Which year?
I fled my country in 1999. I was here in 2000 because it was a very long onshore way to reach to Belgium finally.
Why Belgium?
Still, we didn't choose it neither. We didn't have any choice. We were happy to be everywhere, just not in the prison of Ayatollahs. We went to Turkey because it was neighbor. Still, there we were not safe like today. They imprisoned my husband in Turkey. The intelligence service of Turkey imprisoned my husband to send him back to those Ayatollahs after he has climbed mountains to come to the safety. And that was at that point that I thought, oh God, we don't have anyone, nowhere in the world, but still my husband waiting for me. I should save him. He was in the prison to be sent back to Iran. And I was calling, like, he was a student here in Belgium. I was calling to the ministry and I said, please help. He is one of your citizens. Help him outside the prison.
He's Belgium or?
He was not at that moment not really citizen, but he had studied here, so he had residency permission.
Right, so I had connections
to Belgium because he finished his dentistry here in Belgium. And I said, please help him because the only one who can help him right now outside prison is Belgium. And they helped us. And I never forget. They send us, even they helped me to come here directly, even though I didn't have any connection outside my husband to this country.
Year 2000 or?
In 2000, yes. They helped us to, they saved my husband. They wrote a letter directly, please send him back to Belgium. And we came like this to this country. And that's why and how my love with this country, with Europe, is deep, again, more and more deep than ever. Because this is humanity, helping people in need, not closing the eyes when they need you. And still, you know, I am a member of the Committee of Foreign Affairs in Belgian Parliament. I beg my colleagues, I say, please, I don't ask you to have pity for Iranian people or to defend their human rights. I just ask you only one thing, to defend your own future and the future of your own child here in the Western countries. And imagine having Iranian secular democrat regime, what changed it for the future of your own child and the future of Western countries? That's what I want, because we should be honest. Every country thinks about himself and his own interest, even they are hypocrite and don't say it sometimes. Don't worry, it's normal. You should think about your own interest, but are your own interests in the freedom of Iranian people, or are your own interests in having those ayatollahs? That's the choice.
And this is what I want to come back to, because in year 2000, the world looked very, very different, and geopolitics looked very, very different. Now, at that time, you were an Iranian refugee who was welcomed and given a new life in this country. But Iran and Belgium were very disconnected in geopolitical sense, you know, having certainly some diplomatic relations and all the rest. But it wasn't that Iranian politics would have any impact on Belgium per se. Now, in 2026, this is no longer the case. There are far more intermingling interests, connections, and impact. And perhaps this is the point to talk about. The Islamic regime is, you mentioned octopus, and having all those antennas and outlets in neighboring or not so neighboring countries. But there's also influence on media. There's also influence in ideology. So it goes way beyond the borders. And there's even Venezuela, where Iran had certain connections. So there are a lot of things that are really geopolitically influencing things coming from certain hubs, and be that Iran and Qatar and some other actors.
Exactly. You know, I compare ayatollahs and their Islamism to a virus disease. We all have seen corona as a
pandemic.
Yes, pandemic. You know, it began from Italy. It was in Italy first time.
In Europe, yeah.
In Europe. And no one thought, oh, this is a cure. Oh, it will come out of the borders of Italy. It's not a disease in Italy. It's a viral disease. Then it went to, from China, it went to Italy, Iran, and then it came here. It's like a green gas going everywhere and killing everyone. I came from a country which I saw the Islamism is forming. Revolutionary Guard of Iranian regime was forming. I came out of that country, say, people, please, there is a viral disease there. Close the borders and do something against it. Otherwise, they will come here. They will come here. People looked at me. What is she saying? This little girl, what is she saying right now? I mean, we don't get it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sad for your country and your people. But I don't think that it will be a danger for us. That's how they managed. Still, they are managing it. And I guarantee you, I know ayatollahs, I know mullahs, I know Islam, I know Islamism, I know politic Islam, I know no politic Islam. I know every sort of Islam, and I know everything about Islam. It will come to you. if you don't manage it. It is already here. If you don't get it, because you don't want to get it, because sometimes you don't know not everything is racism. Critical, having critic against a religion is what you, European, has done against inside Christianity. Why are you afraid to talk about the problems in Islam? Why do you find it as a taboo to talk about the atrocity in the Islam with the woman? Oh no, it's their culture. It's not appropriate to talk about their culture in a very harsh way. Don't talk about it. Then it comes to you. No, yes, but our culture is our culture. You think we were Persians. It takes thousands of years that those Persians, Zoroastrianist Persians, should have become Muslims, not with, please, I invite you to be a Muslim, with behaving, with violence against the women and humans, with violation of women. That's how we get Muslims, and we didn't accept it.
At gunpoint.
At gunpoint, exactly. And they say, yes, but we are Western democracy. Be careful about what you're saying. Democracy, it's about demography. And maybe your demography is going to change. Yes, but we are not talking about demography. Don't talk. Talk about just whatever you want, but know how it is going on. Because this viral disease of Ayatollahs, I have seen it in my thousands years old country. My country and my culture is still alive, but trying to prevail. It's difficult because they are king. Be careful. With your democracy, you facilitate giving them the powers. You see in our parliaments, there are some of the people who are really Islamists. They are fighting, for example, for ship, halal or not halal. Is this our fight of European right now? No. But yes, it won't happen in a Western country. I hope so. I hope so. You have seen that Russia is attacking you, European countries. You have seen that Russia has used Shahid drones of Iranian regime against Ukraine. That's why you should now put 5% of your GDP on defense in place of having pension for the future or having better lifestyle of health. Okay, that's because of Iranian regime, because of those Islamists. If you don't get it right now, if you're still on the negotiation table, what is Trump going to negotiate exactly? On whose permission is he negotiating with Iranian regime? How is it possible to give hands with those bloody hands? How can you talk about, yes, we don't want a nuclear weapon. Yeah, just end this regime, because even if this regime promises you that he stops with nuclear weapon, Trump is not for our ways. Netanyahu, who promised a lot and they didn't do anything, is not for our ways. Then, 2 years after, it's done with Netanyahu or Trump or whatever. How Iranian regime still is going to put money on Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis. Again, they are building up. They know how to build those monsters up. That's the unique chance to finish them. If we miss it, we miss the history. Our appointment with the history are we going to miss. Still, I said, attacking Iranian regime make the people stronger and they come again and we finish it together, because alone we cannot do it. Together we can.
We'll come back to this, to the very actual topical part of this, with what's happening right now and the chances of a regime change and the difficulties. But I want to come back to one point when you talked about the whole spectrum of Islam, Islamism, political Islam, and the rest. Why do you think it is so popular? And again, I hesitate to say the word popular, because you have argued, and you can definitely argue that being a gun pointed at you to say convert or else, that's not popularity. But still, it is popular. There are many people who are fully let's say,
It
religious and perfectly good standing citizens of the country in which they live. Their religion is Islam.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely fine and legitimate and,
Yeah. Right.
respectable. So why is this
So
ideology
popular.
and this strange, or well, not so strange, but this very it's a spectrum
Yes.
of ideology is
So
popular, yeah.
Because it's their identity. You know what is identity? Identity is inside you. It's like your skin of color of your skin. It's a part of you. For Muslims, being a part of Ummah is an identity.
Ummah is?
Ummah is Muslim community. They name it Ummat or Ummah in English.
Yeah.
So this is Muslim community. Muslim community, they believe from wherever you are. First you are Muslim, then you are whatever you are. And that's their power. That's why they are popular. Because of from where you are, we are proud Muslims. It's our identity. You should be there. We are always there. And we will, the Muslim Ummah, they believe we will conquer everywhere. It's not a belief, it's just what it's promised to them. And they can. We have seen that they can do it a lot. If they conquer Persia at that moment, it's a proud for them. If Khomeini conquer Persia again, it's a proud for them. It's something that they are proud of. They take self-confidence from that because their identity is strong and it can conquer everywhere. That's a sort of self-confidence that you don't want to give every country. Like you don't want to give Russia the self-confidence of conquering Ukraine. But we give them legitimacy because they say, it's my belief, it's my religion, nothing else. But you believe it. It's not their fault that they say it's our belief, it's just Allah, we love Allah. It's your fault that you don't know what said Allah. Allah said, my soldier, my Muslim community, you will conquer the world. Be patient, be silent, be strong together. That's what I'm saying. If we defeat this Ayatollah regime, we can make their self-confidence a bit less, maybe, at least. And you can say, but they are not our enemy. That's right. Not every Muslim is our enemy. And not every Muslim accepts what is going on there in Iran. Not every Muslim is extreme or Islamist or wants to conquer you or whatever. That's right. But Islam, as a religion, it's that. If you say not every Muslim is this, I accept. Then they are mild Muslims. And for good Muslims, they are even not good Muslims. Because if you are Muslim, you should see what Allah said. They say, but no, never Allah said that. Just open the Quran. And then you will see what Allah said. They say, but yes, also in Christianity, there are a lot of sentences that you don't accept right now. Yes, but Christianity is something totally else. In Quran, Allah said, every word that I'm saying, it is what I'm saying. You can say, but yes, in Quran is saying, La ikraha fid din. You should not oblige the people to believe in whatever you say. That's also right. But the life of Prophet Muhammad has two pieces. A part in Medina, which he didn't have the power, and he said the things like tahiyya things to go forward, and a part in Mecca. In Mecca, he was not the Muhammad of Medina. He said, now the world will be Muslim. It is obligation to be Muslim. You know what is my penalty if I don't want a Muslim anymore? Which I'm not, by the way. What is my penalty?
Death penalty.
Death penalty. Not for a Christian people, they don't want to be. They are just kuffar. They are just garbage. Sorry for the word. It's not my word. It's just how they will be looked at. They are pigs. Okay, but me, as a Muslim born, I don't have the right to be not Muslim.
Yeah, you cannot leave.
I cannot have the life and live
They say it's Hotel California.
Exactly.
You're welcome to enter, but you can never leave.
Exactly.
Now, of course, there are lots of organizations that help former Muslims who did leave, but then they had to bear the consequences. And even in Western world, in Canada, in different places, I've heard interviews with the apostates who...
Like Salman Rushdie.
Salman Rushdie, and you have even Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and many others. And yes, I mean, this is very tough. And hence, the question lends itself. Have you been accused of being too harsh, of being Islamophobe, and all the other adjectives that may have been thrown at you?
Yes, I have been accused of being Islamophobe, fascist, whatever. Still not racist because I have also the same race for them. But I think you deserve to hear the truth. And maybe my truth is not your truth, but what I'm saying is facts. I'm telling you how Persia and Iran was never free to choose. If you want to take the lesson, you will. If you want to say that I am an extremist or that I am Islamophobe or whatever, you will. I don't have any problem with the Muslims who are living our lives, normal lives, and they keep their belief private. I don't have any problem. Yes, I have problem with the people who are making how do you say, a big prayer on the streets of Western countries. Yes, I have a problem with the mosques, that they are talking about how pigs are the Western people and that the children should never talk to the Western children because they are pigs, and we are pigs, all pigs. I have a problem with that. If I'm telling that and I make this polarization in the Western country, I can be quiet. Just you will see the polarization yourself. Now you are seeing it, maybe not in little cities or villages, but you will see it everywhere because they will win this if you close your eyes. Yes, I have been accused, but it doesn't, because I love Western country, and I told you what is the reason that I love them, because still I believe that they sometimes they don't get it, but they want to be good civilization like they are. Their system is civilized. Some of the people can be crazy, but their systems, their values, they are my values, not as an integrated person, because a lot of Western people say, wow, Darya, you are so good integrated. And I say always, the only integration step that I took with pleasure was learning your language to talk to you, but the rest is not my integration. That's my values as Zoroastrians, as someone who is born in Persia. We and our way of life, it's not a religion, Zoroastrianism. My way of life, it looks a lot like your way of life. And that's how we are so compatible and we understand and we love each other.
And this is, I think, key because it's Middle East and surrounded by very diverse, very different cultures. Mm-hmm. And let's say ethnically, you're not Arab. And that's a very common misunderstanding that the Persians are not like their neighbors.
Exactly.
And there's a cultural difference as well, yes, in many ways, both the religious part or the way of life and many others of how Iran is. And it's very, I think, not very well known how close those values are to what we call Western values and the way of life. So that's very interesting. And I remember seeing those videos, this footage from pre-1979, pre-revolution, of how Iranians lived. And you just look at it and you're shocked that, oh my God, really? And that could have been done in Paris, and it could have been video footage from any country, US or other. And say, well, this is how you work.
Shocking, beautiful. That's our culture, exactly. I'll show you what I have here. This is Zoroastrianism sign. So
what does it symbolize?
This is the symbol of our not religion, but the way of life. And Zoroastrianism has three important elements: that you should talk well, think well, and act well. Those three. Our God is only that, and our God didn't say, if you do this, we will kill you. If you do that, we will cut off your hand. If you do, it's just, it says that you should just do these three things.
Be a good person.
You will never be in problem. We don't have Sharia. We don't have law. We have work hard, respect nature. Thousands of years ago, there were no industry, but they say, respect nature, work hard, gain a good life, be good for your family and your people. Those values are the values that we are still living with. We love each other, and that's enough. We should not have something like, you know what? You should conquer the world. You should go to the people and invite them to Islam. And if they don't accept, just let them. They should understand that at the final steps, those things are not acceptable. And I'm so glad to be a part of those ancient culture. And why? You know what is this revolution about? The revolution of January 26 in Iran is about our national identity. It's not about economy. It's not about women's rights. It's not about nothing. It's about, we want our country back. We want to make this country great again on the base of our values. Which are our values? Those values of Zoroastrianism, the lion and the sun, and the Persia. We were Persia. We can be Persia.
Tell me more about the lion and the sun.
About the lion and the sun. You know, the lion is an animal that we see in us. When it's about Iran, we are lions. All. Iran is a country of thousands years of history. In these thousands years, we were attacked by Mongolians' culture, by even with Alexander the Great, European. We were always in war, but we had a good warriors, lions. Warriors are the lions. How is it possible to have a country of thousands years? Only because we are all a lion, all of us. So lion is power, and we are powerful when it goes about our country. And the sun is life. It's the beginning of the life, and we cannot live without sun. Before that, we were Zoroastrianists, we were Mithraists, because we are so ancient that we have 3,500 years ago, we were Mithraists. What is Mithraists? Mithra is the radiation of the sun. Not the sun itself, but the radiation. We thought this radiation is the reason of life, and it is. We know that it is. So the sun is when the darkness is finished. You know, the darkness, when it's finished, we will prevail. And that's why the sun and the lion is inside our heart. It's burning inside our hearts until we are free. And we can make our country free. Iran is not a country that after 3,500 years written history and 7,000 years of history, it becomes suddenly Arab or Muslim country. It's not possible. 50 years, it's nothing. Let's hope 47 finish, because it's how we are going to be great again, be ourselves. We cannot be what Arab attacked us in 1,400 years ago and say we can be great again. No, we will go back to ourselves, to our ancient parents, to our ancestors, and we can make it. That's our chance and choice, and that's the only reason that we can prevail is that we are still that lion. The lion is inside us.
And that's on the flag.
That's the symbol of our flag. And some of the people said, but maybe we are not monarchies, but maybe we are. I said, no, it's not the symbol of monarchy. It's the symbol of our country. It's the symbol of Iran. It's whatever is there, this symbol is the only symbol. And that's thousands of years. It's symbolized Persia, Iranian, Iran, and our culture.
Yeah. And I noticed that there are all over your necklace, your bracelet, there are
Yes.
lots of symbols hidden and not so hidden on you that refer
was not-
to your country.
Exactly. It was not, some months ago, I was just living with my heart with Iran and Persia. But nowadays, I just want to have my country on myself. It's just something I want to make it, feel it, touch it. And with me and lots of other people, we are millions abroad and inside Iran. And I want to have it on me because I say, you know what? I carry you in my heart and I carry you on myself until I'll give you everything that you deserve to have. And that makes my power, two things giving me the power, and I think with me millions of others. First of all, I don't run away from the pain that my people are going through these days. I don't scroll. I look at them, I cry, I see how the last words of a son to his father is, Papa, I love you, everything will be good, and he dies. I saw it. I wanted to look at them, to remember my duty. Every morning that I wake up, I should remember the pain that we had. These days will never erase from our history. And who standed with us will always be our friend. Who didn't look at us will always be somewhere else. This pain and my identity, national identity, those are the two powerful engines that we need for prevail, and we keep it.
You're a Belgian Member of Parliament. You are also in the NATO Parliamentary Assembly,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. You're also an activist in the best sense of the word. So
Yes.
how does it all come together? You are enemy, not number one, but number two of the regime. So this is not without danger. You are in the spotlight. You're very vocal, very visible. There was even, what I read, there was a kidnapping attempt at some point against
Right.
you.
This summer.
And these days, especially, you're very, very out there.
Yes.
So how does it affect your life, and what is it that you can do? Because you are extremely well spoken, very articulate about everything that we discussed so far. What is it that you can effectively do to help Iran get free again?
First of all, the first important thing is that my life is not worthy in comparing with those children of 15, 16. I mean, I am ready to give my life as well because they gave it, and they didn't give it by mistake. They knew that they were built because the voices and the letters that they have written as last words, they have said to their parents, I wish I could have made it the day of the freedom, but Mama, I should go to make this country free. Those letters are the history. So they chose, for even dying, risking their lives, what is my life in comparing to them. So we are not afraid of any problem which could have been the price. That's first of all. Second of all, the impact on our life is heavy, is very heavy, because even my children are not safe. Even my children say, Mama, be safe, please come back home, let me know when the manifestation is finished. The impact is high, but from the other side, my son calls me from America and says, you don't have the right to stop, you know, Mama? I ask you to continue. You are vocal. I do what I can, but you should be their voice. If you ever are tired, afraid, or stop, I don't forgive you. That's my child. I mean, they don't say, please be careful. They say, just be louder, and take their, don't let that their life is gone for nothing. But what is our impact on the world? I think we have an impact. Otherwise, I was not sitting here. Otherwise, I didn't have so many people who send me letters, also from inside Europe. Don't think that mainstream media's ignorance is the people on the street. They are following my pages because they don't need mainstream medias to know what's going on in Iran. They send me messages. They appreciate what we are doing, and they are aware that this is not only for Iranian people but also for Western country. And they say we are really shocked from the atrocity of the regime, but please know that we are here and supporting you. Even there were a lot of them on the manifestation that I have arranged
protest,
Sunday. The protest in Brussels. They were there. They are supporting Iranian people, and that's my impact. And not only me, 40,000 people were on that Sunday on the streets in Brussels. All of them count. They came. They showed how civilized the Iranian are. This is the world. Okay, you can imagine that there were no mainstream media to cover. It's just so sad. We will never forget it. But don't worry, if there are now four people on the street with Palestinian flag, they are there. But okay, we see everything, but it doesn't keep us from not fighting. We will fight because it's noble.
What's your explanation for this?
My explanation is that they want to be blind. Let them be blind. Why? Because the explanation is they don't care about human rights. The people who censor us, Iranian, they don't care about lives in Gaza. Neither. The only thing that they love to write every day of is how bad Jewish they are, how bad Israel is. That's their cause. If you don't get it, you cannot see it, then you are blind. Their problem is not human rights. It's not that child that they put on send. They put some of the people, children, on send to say, we are hungry, give us eating. You can say, but there were such a thing. Yes, but then why are you put it on send? Why are you making it falsely? Just take the photograph of the reality. But our bullets, our blood shed, they were all registered on film. You have never seen one of them on the medias of cover of I don't know which magazine or the first page of which mainstream media. You didn't see it. And because the excuse, because there were no internet, we didn't have the pictures of the reality. How you didn't have? And you had a lot in Gaza. Even you made a lot of them yourself because you wanted to show it. The pain of the people in Gaza is your pain and it's my pain, but not the pain of the Iranian people. So don't talk about human rights. Just talk about your ideology, your perspective against Israel and Jewish people. Just talk about how you are going to make anti-Semitism great again in these European countries because you hate Israel. And your hatred, why you don't hate Ayatollahs? They killed 60,000 at least. I have heard much more. Still, in 3 years, Hamas say they killed 60,000 or 40,000, I don't know anymore. In 3 years, they killed in 2 days. Hundreds, thousands. Why you didn't mention it? Why you didn't picture it? Because it's not their narrative. Their narrative is Ayatollahs should stay there, should help Hamas against Israel. Otherwise, we cannot win Israel. Israel should be erased from the map of the world. Israel is the source of evil, and the Western country also. That's their narrative. That's why they are so sensitive about Gaza and Palestine and not at all about Iranian lives.
I wish I could refute it, but I agree with every word. We see it, and again, it's not an opinion. It's just
not
simply
an opinion.
put the selective outrage, the moral hypocrisy, the double standards,
Exactly.
the willful blindness, the moral high ground. All of this, these are the terms which describe it so perfectly.
Exactly.
Because it's clear as the sun as it radiates.
Right.
Because it's not a question of interpretation. It's just
No.
simply lining up things. And I don't see any other narrative that you, or any other interpretation that you can draw from it, because it's just simply loud and clear. And especially now with Iran, because it's really, there are many situations which are extremely complex, and it's very hard to know who's the morally right and the one the morally wrong. But ayatollahs massacring people who stand up for freedom, for not having to wear the veil,
Yes.
for showing your hair. The very fact of you sitting here showing your hair is a criminal offense in Iran. How many women were massacred and jailed and raped in the previous round of protests simply for that act of defiance that they didn't wear the veil?
Right.
Where were the feminists?
Exactly.
Where was the global support for those who dare to be women? And I do want to bring in the term of gender apartheid, which is a very heavy term, but that's what it is. Because you as a woman, you're a second-class citizen, just like you said, that you are not equal in your very own country, having been born in that country.
Right.
So it's just unbelievable. And really, it's shocking that it's so out in the open, and yet we, and I say it, those who have the eyes to see it, are being gaslit. And we are being told that what you're seeing is not what there is, but it's something very different. Or don't even look there. There's nothing to see there. Or there are more important and just causes elsewhere.
Exactly. That's so sad to see. Also, as a feminist, we were left alone by the feminists of Western countries, which, by the way, most of the time has also left ideology. And so for them, it's so obvious that a free choice, it means that you should be free to be also a slave as a woman who cover everything. I don't get, how can you be a slave by choice and be free? I can understand that you choose to be slave, but then the name of freedom for a slave which has chosen to wear whatever she is doing right now is not helping women's rights. Because women's right, women's empowerment, as the path is not going through religious oppression. And they say, but this is not oppression, this is the choice. Yes, that choiced woman has only one choice. Wear it, or you are a
one choice is not really a choice.
Yes. And if you say, but yeah, still, she could have been a no. Being not wearing hijab in some of the families, even in Europe, it means you cannot go outside. Also good. You see, you say it yourself. At least wear it and go outside. So thank you for defending women's right. At least put it to have the permission to go outside. Is this your woman rights? Not mine. I fight for real women's right. And that's not in the religious cover. But this is their culture. No. Even Arab cultures, they have beautiful dresses, beautiful traditionally dresses. Covering with those veils is not culturally, it's religious. Religious. Never accept this is their culture, this is not their culture. This is only religious oppression.
So here comes the question. You are a politician and you have very clear and strong opinions about these things, which is extremely interesting. Where is the limit of tolerance, and what is it that you can do to keep Western societies, and I use that term again in a cultural term or in a freedom term. Yeah. So where is the limit of that tolerance, where you don't want to become what you are opposing? You don't want to become that authoritarian who imposes something on others,
Yes.
and yet you want to keep the framework in which that freedom can exist.
Being tolerant is a good thing, but being tolerant against the things or the ideologies or the ideas which are not tolerant is naive and dangerous. So, if you want to be tolerant, see against what or toward what you are tolerant. If you want to be tolerant with a person who has a knife and wants to kill you, it's your choice, but then you are killed. You should first understand an idea or an ideology which is coming toward your country. Does it have a good thing with your culture or not? Do they want to extinguish your culture and your civilization or not? Do they say down with Western, down with America, down with England, down with Israel, whatever, or not? If they have promised, their God has promised that the community will prevail, and I'm not talking about all Muslims, about the one who really deepens himself in Allah, what Allah has asked them, then you know that you cannot tolerate being eliminated. If you tolerate that ideology, the future of yourself is being eliminated. But if you want to be just, yeah, I have a good life, I have a happy life, I don't care what my children will have, then don't think and don't go to learn this ideology. Just let it come to you. But if you are responsible as parents, which you should be, it's your duty, then you should know, okay, there are people who came to us because they needed our help. We helped them. But what should we accept in the Western country and what not? If you don't have any idea of which is not acceptable, which acts, or like, for example, keeping a woman at home. First of all, when they came here, you should preserve your own values. If you don't do it, then you are naive. It's dangerous for your future, for your own child, for your own daughter, because you can say this is their culture, let it be like what they want, but the sons and the boys that are grown up in that oppressor culture, they looked at your daughter also as whore. Is this what you have chosen for? No. So don't accept a culture dictates you what you should tolerate. You will never tolerate to see a woman oppressed under those ridiculous clothes, and don't fight for their free choice as if it's a choice. Say, this is my country, this is my rules. In this country, for example, I don't want to see girls with headscarf at the schools. That's right, that's what it is. And be careful that if demography changes, your democracy can also change. Be aware of everything and try to adapt those people with your values is much more important than only language. Your values, Western values. What we are talking about is a civilization which is in danger.
And it's extremely delicate because when we talk about demography, of course, it's the humans, but the kind of ideology or value set that they endorse is the main question. It's not about the color of the skin in any sense.
Yes.
It's about what
Exactly.
the way you want to conduct your life and how you tolerate or not tolerate or accept a system as a society is actually organized.
Exactly.
And I want to come back for a second to the media part. And there's a lot to say about social media and all the others, but we need to say, you take Al Jazeera, for instance, and Al Jazeera is basically the propaganda outlet of Qatar. And Al Jazeera, as far as I know, is banned in multiple countries because it's really an influence operation
Right.
that looks legitimate, but it's not. And how do you see that its role? And again, not just focusing on Al Jazeera, but how the information landscape is polluted and manipulated very much in line with what you just described.
It is a very important point that you mentioned because Uh, Countries like Qatar, countries even like Islamic Republic of Iran, they have tried a lot to make the opinions of people in the Western countries by their own journalism and journalists. They they have money. Yeah? They have money to give those people to propaganda, to make the propaganda for their own narratives. Which, for example, I know that during the reform, so-called reformists, ayatollahs in Iran, they paid a lot of journalists and BBC Persian, which we say Ayatollah BBC, by the way, to bring the narrative to the world that Iranian ayatollahs can have moderate government as well, as if the president is someone in Iranian system of theocracy. You can have whatever you want for presidents. First of all, those presidents are not chosen democratically. Yes, you have election. Which election? Khamenei says, I have 4 marionettes. You can choose between my 4 marionettes. Is this democracy? Unfortunately, you cannot believe, but some of the Western politicians, they told me, but you have democracy in Iran.
It's a republic after all.
It's a republic after all. It's so sad. And I said, that is thanks to those journalists, which Al Jazeera, which lots of Ayatollah BBC, Persian BBC has make a propaganda for Iranian regime. And it has its effect. Why? Because mainstream medias are still the medias which most of the people connect with and follow the news. And for them, Iran is very far. Okay, they look at what BBC or whatever is written, then they think also very clever. We know a little bit about Iran. Your country is getting reformed. I was like, okay, thank you for all that information. I wrote op-eds. I put it in the best medias. At the moment that I was not still in the politics. In the politics, I have a lot louder voice, and now even I'm saying the same thing that I told 15 years ago. There is no reform in this regime, and I hope that America stops making this great faults, how do you say, great mistake that it can cost the whole history.
Well, let's talk about this. So today, and the situation is changing by the day, and there are lots of rumors, lots of things happening, and by the time this is being aired, the situation may have radically changed as well. But looking at the current setup, so America has sent lots of warships, and there is basically everything that a military intervention is being prepared. Whether it happens or not, again, at this point, we don't know. But the very first question is, where's Europe?
That's for you the first question, very first question. For me, is not really, because Europe, from the beginning, they didn't say the help is on the way. They just sit aside, like always. Like always. Europe doesn't exist anyway. And the geopolitical decisions, they are always absent, always. And what it talks about them, unfortunately, it is that they are weakening. But okay, anyway, they didn't lie to the people. They didn't say, go on the street, help is on the way. Because they went because of that help. But second of all, again, now I see that President Trump is trying to talk to the regime, which for me, I don't get it. Because this regime, even if some months ago you could have talked to them, but now even Biden didn't do it after Masa Amini. You cannot talk.
With Masa Amini?
Look, when Masa Amini, in the revolution of a woman life freedom, they killed also people. Not in such a scale, but they killed people. And no one from the world is, after that, going to say we are going now to negotiate. If you want to negotiate, you should not have so many killed people, and then go talking on their blood because their blood is fresh. It's not acceptable. And this is not the moment for negotiating. You could have been silent. I am very sad about what European countries are doing because they are silent, non-existent. But at least they are non-existent. And we never rely on them.
At least there's no false expectations being set.
Yes,
But
we
again,
don't rely on them. We don't expect anything. They don't exist. Okay, they don't exist.
Even France, even Poland, even
None of them.
Germany.
It's sad. It's unacceptable. But at least we didn't went on the street because we thought, oh, France is on the way. Yeah. But two things are important. Netanyahu said always to the people, I cannot change the regime for you. It's required that you go on the streets. But if you go on the streets, we are there. We will be there. He was not there. And it's very sad to say. He said what Cyrus the Great has done for us, Jewish people.
The historical figure.
We will return you. You are the sons of Cyrus the Great. The sons of Cyrus the Great were killed, and no one came. Not the world, and not the people who promised us. And the sons of the Cyrus has been beaten one by one. This is sad. This is our last chance. And if Netanyahu is a little bit thinking about, but it will be a war. Yes, Netanyahu, this is the war to go and fight for it. Otherwise, who knows when will be the next 7 October? I hope never. Yes, Trump, President Trump, it is your war, and you can finish it in a good way. Otherwise, who knows when it will be the next 9. Don't let them. Yes, it will be a war. Make it once for always, in place of every year suffering. You remember how bad it was 7 October? You remember how isolated Israel has become after 7 October in the world? It hurts still because we were allies. We are allies. You don't leave your allies alone. You don't do it.
Which is unbelievable to think, well, there's a tiny Israel in this enormous pool in the Middle East of countries.
Yes.
But certainly America is a very different category. But then again, one might argue, and I've read some analysis and heard some conversations on how difficult the regime change is, by definition, of course. Because there is I want to hear your views on that, where there is certainly the military part where you can take out military positions and radars and fighter jets and all the other assets. But then there's the whole infrastructure and economic infrastructure. So there is the black economy, where basically the regime is also controlling the black economy and using it as good mafiosi would. There are so many aspects to it with the militaries or the police state and the apparatus and the propaganda outlets and et cetera, et cetera. So how is that practically possible, or how do you see this whole complexity?
First of all, it is complex, I admit. But if it is so complex that you cannot manage it, then just don't say a word about, I'll come and help you. Don't send the people in front of the tanks. That's how I have managed it in place of Netanyahu or President Trump or whoever. Second of all, it's not impossible. We have done greater jobs in the history. You remember when the Berlin Wall fell down? Without the help of every Western country, it was not possible. It was not possible. Defeating communism was thanks to all allies. Why? They don't look at Iranian people as their allies in fighting Islamism. They don't want even have one missile. Is that the reason? They will have a lot more very soon again. It's not impossible to let this regime fall. You have lions inside and outside Iran, which still say America, Israel, they are our allies. We cannot do it alone, but we will give our life. You will give your military help, and we will do it together. And you can say, yes, but still, maybe we attack, but they will stay there. But just attack and see what happened. I am sure they won't stay there because Iranian people went with empty hands. And if they have you, they will go still with empty hands and they will win because you are behind them. And Islamic Republic don't dare to move. But a very bad news, Islamic Republic now there's a lot, because impunity exists. And you can say whatever you want. No, it's not. It's not the moment to go. I mean, Mossad, Netanyahu, CIA, Trump, whatever. You can have a lots of advice of, no, it's not the time. It's not the time. You will see what will happen after with these monsters. These monsters, their people, 100,000 per night. Okay? Why do you think that they will have mercy for you in the future, Israel? They hate you, and you know it. You can say Israel is a tiny country. Israel is a tiny country, but I am so proud of them because with those 9 millions, you can move the world. They are not tiny. They are powerful. I had and have a lots of admiration for Israelis because they can. They have shown the world. 9 million have the best army. This is power. This is not a tiny country. This is our ally in the region. Iranian and Israel will be the countries in the Middle East which make Middle East great again.
Which is extremely interesting as a side note, because when you look at protests, pro-Iranian, meaning the freedom Iranian, and unfortunately I need to specify it because even just the last weekend in London, you could see the pro-regime, the pro-Islamic Republic protests with the flag of the regime and with Palestinian flags and with all the others.
And which
basically
were no one Iranian. All of them were pro-Palestine Arab.
Right. And again, not just pro-Palestinian, but even with Hamas, symbolism,
exactly.
to the degree in countries where it's allowed, even where it's not allowed, it's tolerated, unfortunately. So again, just to specify, in the protests of the pro-Iranian, I myself actually went to one of them a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And you could see Israeli flags so often.
Yes.
Because, again, it's more than, and I again say in air quotes, just that sort of alliance and that sort of support slash appreciation for one another. But it's, again, a lot of aligned values. And that kind of dates back or points back to what you described of why Iran and the Iranian freedom movement is not being talked about in most outlets, from the largest media outlets all the way to local papers. And it's not being so visible because it's seen as this Western pro-Trumpist, capitalist, imperialist project where Israel and America are conspiring to prop up the so-called opposition, right? Like there's this whole fairy tale narrative, and that's why it's not being supported. So what I'm saying is that you see that as those mutual support and solidarity with one another, which I think is commendable.
Because it's a history. The people of Iran and Jewish people, they have a historical bond, which is very strong. And that's why I hope that we really can count on them to keep our bonds, because this is our power. When they had 7 October, we were there for them. And even me in the Belgian Parliament, I was one of those people who has always talked the narrative of those innocent people. And it's also very important to show the world that also they are for us. And I don't talk about the people because I know how the people are. The Israelis, they want nothing more than freedom of Iranian. And that's how I know that we are friends for always. And I hope that our politics also decide for the good way, because you can say, if you, it's like this, I can formulate it like this. If they don't react now, they have admitted that the Iranian regime is very strong and bad for them. They will see the result of those non-actions. Because, you know, I know, if they don't attack, it's because they are afraid that there will be retaliation. And that means that they are afraid. And the rest, the Ayatollahs, they are also very intelligent. They are not crazy. I can say they are more intelligent than some of the Western politicians. So they can read non-action. It means they are afraid of us. Good. We can keep it still for 1 or 2 years after we begin again, and they are afraid of us. This is the moment in the whole history. If you miss it, you won't have it, because Iranians are not crazy. They have been hundred thousands in 2 nights. They could have been killed millions in 2 nights. They won't come out. Just if you want to live with this regime, live it yourself as well. You will see.
And as we slowly get to the end of the conversation, maybe 1 or 2 questions I'm really curious about. One is Iran, if you look at the map, its geopolitical position is very interesting, right? Like it's in a peculiar place, and we can talk about the Strait of Hormuz, which has a massive economic impact on the world. So that's a very powerful way of the Iranian regime to blackmail the world and say, we're going to blow it up, we're going to close it, that's going to have a massive impact on the world economy. But I'm also curious about your take on its relations with Saudi Arabia, with UAE, so with countries in the region or broader region, because there are just so many moving parts. And what are the alliances? What are the interests over there?
Right. Actually, what is important to know is that Qatar is taking our gas and selling it in the world. So Qatar don't want regime change, because regime change means that we will be the owner and the boss of our own gas. We won't forgive them, but Qatar is Qatar. Qatar and Turkey, they are a Muslim Brotherhood. The mafia of Muslim Brotherhood, strong there. Now they have also Syria, because al-Shara is also the marionette of Erdogan in Turkey. So they want to be strong in the region. Of course, if they have a democratic Iran, all their narrative collapses, all their interest collapses. The gas could not be sold by those Qataris, which everyone has an airplane or I don't know, whatever. And the tourism of Turkey won't be the only tourism. Then we have Iran, which is free as well as a concurrent. So they think only on their own interests, and they are Islamists. So, I mean, Erdogan, Qatar, al-Shara, they are Islamists. Then they will be glad to have an Islamist as a monster, because the world forget them. I mean, if there is a very, very big monster of Islamists there in the middle of the Middle East, Ayatollahs, then the world forget who Erdogan and Qataris they are. Okay? All of them is good for them, that Iranian regime stays there. Now, talking about Saudi Arabia is changing, and it has a lot of changing the last years. And bin Salman has tried to change it a little bit in the way of that these extreme Islamists have less power. And, I have heard a lots of interviews which they are conscious about the danger of radical Islam for their country and isolating their country. So they understand, they get it. They are new bloods and they want to reform a sort. And their reform is not Saul's reformist in Iran. Their reform is real because their reform is with the people of Mecca and Medina, which are staying in 1,400 years ago, and still they want to have Prophet Muhammad as their identity. They are real Muslims. But in Iran, we are Persians, which are, we don't need reform. Every reform is less than what we need. So we don't need reform, but the reform of Ben Salman in Saudi Arabia, it's good.
MBS, yeah.
Because they take the people from 1,400 years ago, still he tries to bring them to 21st century. This is good. And so the Saudi Arabia, they also told to Trump that impunity gives them a very bad signal. You cannot do it. I mean, okay, they are also thinking about their own interests, but let me know which country don't give about their own interests.
And also the Shiite and Sunnite differences between the Saudi and the Iranian regime is a factor.
The Iranian regime, yeah, they don't. The Iranian regime, they hate them. They don't like them because of this. I mean, they think they are Shiite, they are Sunni, but whatever they are just. I mean, even Ben Salman trying to make the country progressive, better, and the Iranian regime makes us going more and more behind the history, and that's the difference. So even though they don't like each other, the regime and the Saudi Arabia, sometimes they can find each other also, and that's how the last year Saudi Arabia tried to find a way with them. But anyway, we as Western countries, we should not think about what Arab country they take. What is better for us? What is best for us? That we should take it. And if the world or Western countries or President Trump or whoever thinks that this regime is better for them, then they deserve it. Let's see.
Let's see. I think that's perhaps a good closing line because it's just extremely powerful what you shared here.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your clarity of expression.
It's my mission. Be clear.
Yes, be clear and be outspoken and speak up and stand up for your values.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope that we will have this discussion in a free Iran.
Well, let's hope so. We have one small ritual, which I didn't mention before, but we have a card that I would like you to pull one and answer it. It's generic questions.
Okay.
And everybody pulls a card that speaks to them. So let's see what is yours.
Who's the best boss you have ever had? I've never had a boss. I was always the boss of myself. So maybe that's the best answer.
And I think the word freedom comes back.
Yes.
You want to be free?
I am free. I mean, even though there are in the world people who name themselves boss, I have never worked for someone. In the politics, also, I am free to say whatever I want because this is my job as chosen by the people. They trust you to be yourself, and that's the honor that I have always from the people who voted on me to be their voices and try to be the most honest that I can ever and always be. They trust me in this, and I'm so grateful to be their representative and be in Parliament right now, where I can have a very loud voice for everyone who needs my voice. Thank you for inviting me, and it was a great conversation.
Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you.